Hey everyone, today's video is going to be a little different from what I usually make. It's more serious, but I feel like it's really important to talk about. The topic is the current state of SML and its community, specifically the critics within it, and how things have declined over time. Honestly, it's something that still puzzles me. Even though some of my experiences with this go back a while, I still feel the need to share my thoughts. So let's get into it. For those who might not know, SML, short for Super Mario Logan, is a YouTuber best known for making comedy skits with puppet characters. Over the years, the channel grew a massive following, but also faced major controversies, from copyright battles with Nintendo to backlash over its more mature content. These issues eventually led to multiple channel removals and rebrands. Logan's career is basically a Jenga tower of controversies. Pull the wrong block and the whole thing comes crashing down. Still, I found some enjoyment in his videos over the years. I respect the dedication he puts into his work. He has a real talent for transforming something that might seem childish into engaging, often funny skits. His early use of Nintendo characters had a special charm. Unfortunately, that came to an end when Nintendo threatened legal action, forcing Logan to switch to the human puppets. But honestly, that's not the real issue for me. The thing is, around 2020, the quality just started to drop. Since then, too many videos have felt flat at best and nearly unwatchable at worst, and sadly, that decline has only continued in the years that followed. Don't get me wrong, Logan still puts out the occasional good video. If you enjoy his content, that's perfectly fine. This is just my opinion, and you're free to disagree with me. Recently, though, it seems like there's been less creative energy and attention to detail in his videos. Take the Casper-King character, for instance. It's happening far too often. Once in a while, it can be pretty funny, but now it's so frequent that it completely disrupts the flow of their videos. I could point to countless examples of modern SML doing this, but there are simply too many to name. Now, let's look at the characters. Frankly, they've all declined in quality. Marvin occasionally shows signs of being relatable and grounded, but far too often is reduced to a greedy, jealous father. Juno's just an asshole, while Joseph and Chef Peepee have been reduced to nothing more than tired racial stereotypes. Jeffy is, well, Jeffy. Broken Guy used to be a highlight, but now he's a whiny man-child who rambles endlessly about stories that add nothing. Goodman's hit or miss, while Cody has basically become a butt monkey. Since the caricatures usually make or break the quality, there's a claim that drags everything else down. This is just one of several issues at play. Sometimes the concept itself is weak and, quite frankly, a sign of creative bankruptcy. Jeffy's Castrope is a prime example. What's wrong with this video, you may ask? Oh, nothing major, just that the entire plot revolves around, and I wish I were kidding here, a heap of cat puke. Yes, Logan apparently looked at this pile of feline regret and thought, ah, yes, my magnum opus. It has come to no one's surprise that the video has been met with widespread dislike. Personally, I found it especially off-putting because I struggle with emetophobia, the fear of vomit, and on several cats who occasionally vomit, so seeing vivid depictions of it triggers a strong sense of disgust. To their credit, the cast does eventually break the fourth wall to admit the idea was bad, but that's like casually mentioning you crashed your friend's car after deliberately steering it into a lake. The thing is, this is an isolated issue. While a handful of recent videos still stand out, far too many lean on recycled jokes, flimsy plots, and sluggish pacing, making them blur together and quickly fade from memory. Even the stronger entries often miss that spark that makes them truly unforgettable. Most concerning, though, is the persistent streak of mean-spiritedness. There are plenty of videos that lean on the same type of formula, characters suffering for no real reason. Examples like Cody's Bad Word or Joseph the Millionaire fall into this trap, and they're hated simply because of that. For me, though, the bigger issue is how these stories completely derail a character, making them act in ways that feel totally out of character. For instance, the aforementioned Joseph the Millionaire essentially ruined Joseph as a whole, but there's another standard offender, Cody Stolen Penny. Honestly, a more fitting title would be Cody complains about a 1943 steel penny for 30 minutes straight. I'll show you a clip so you can see exactly what I mean.
I don't have enough money because I'm 13 to 30 cents short because somebody stole my penny.
Cody, I'll get your ticket.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Penelope C. Jr. That's what a real friend looks like.
I would not steal your stupid penny because I don't care about your dumb penny.
You think that's funny? It doesn't look to me. It's not very entertaining. This video is basically just Cody whining, and by the end they brush it off like nothing happened. I love this bullshit to just drag out a plot about a penny stuck under a lint roller. Sure, some people might argue that Junior has bullied Cody in the past, and that's true. Junior's always been a jerk. And yeah, you could say Cody finally gave him a taste of his own medicine here, which in theory should be satisfying. But if you're going to base an entire video on that premise, it needs solid execution to feel clever, not drawn out, repetitive, and cruel. The bigger issue is how idiotic the concept is in the first place. Cody has glasses. He's supposed to be smart, and the pet is literally visible under the lint roller in some shots. They could just look, point it out, and boom, problem solved. But of course, they can't do that, because then the video wouldn't early and they wouldn't switch it up for the ad revenue. Unsurprisingly, this episode has been met with near universal backlash. According to posts on the SML wiki at the time of writing, 125 users hated it, compared to just 16 who loved it. And it's not just the numbers. The comment section tells the same story. Normally, it's a flood of blind praise and usual bots, but this time, people are openly shitting on Logan. In fact, the comments are far more entertaining than the episode itself. In short, the video is a chaotic mess that perfectly encapsulates everything wrong with modern SML. On a scale of 0 to 10, it barely scrapes a 0. What's genuinely frustrating is that talent is still there. Logan and his team have shown time and again that they can craft sharp, funny, and even artful content, and every so often they still do. I can recognize when genuine effort goes into a video, and I applaud them for that. The challenge is that somewhere along the way, the drive to think before posting seems to have been replaced by a formula that prioritizes quantity over quality. Whether it's burnout, the pressure to keep up with the algorithm, or simply falling into a comfort zone, the result is content doesn't always live up to its potential. If SML wants to regain its former spark and the respect of longtime fans, the path forward isn't about returning to Nintendo characters. It's about focusing on what made the channel special in the first place. Fresh ideas, pacing that is just alright, and characters that feel like real personalities rather than exaggerated caricatures, experimenting with new story formats, giving side characters more depth, and taking creative risks could go a long way toward winning back both old and new viewers. My concerns extend beyond the content itself to the state of the community. The fanbase wants to maintain a healthy mix of casual viewers, passionate fans, and constructive critics who sought to help the channel improve. That balance has largely eroded. The middle ground has all but vanished, replaced by a polarized environment in which offering criticism risks being dismissed as hating, while defending SML invites accusation of blind loyalty. This polarization has created a toxic feedback loop, suffocating meaningful discussion and burying constructive feedback on the waves of hostility. So, yeah, the community has gotten toxic and polarized, and a lot of that comes from drama. And no, I don't mean the cast drama, like the whole cheating allegations. I'm talking about the drama within the community itself, especially in the SML critique corner. Before we dive into that, a quick disclaimer. I'll be discussing topics that may be sensitive or inappropriate for some audiences. If that makes you uncomfortable, I highly suggest to skip to the end or stop watching this video entirely. For those who choose to continue, let's begin. Watching a video is often the first step to truly understanding and fairly criticizing it. Yet sometimes, a video can be so bad it becomes unforgettable, for all the wrong reasons of course. In those moments, I found comfort in the voice of critics who share their own thoughts. Whether we agreed or disagreed, knowing others had also taken time to dissect and discuss same content made me feel less alone. That's part of what made SML critics their charm. Back then, several prominent names stood out. The SMR, Ray Rants, Super Mario Nick, Meth Dominus, Devious Dude, and a handful of smaller channels. Of these, Nick is the only one who has managed to still float, while the others have faded into obscurity or quit entirely. Let's start with Meth Dominus. He faced accusations of racism and misogyny over some old videos containing suggestive jokes. These clips went largely unnoticed until a few months ago. Honestly, this is trivial compared to what's coming next. Let's hop in our time machine and revisit the era where every critic was still in the ring. By the end of 2023, serious allegations emerged against the SMR. First, it was from shifting focus to a gaming-oriented channel, only to return to SML content as a way to raise money for college. I personally think it's coming for him to do that, but what came next was far, far worse. On December 19th, during a live stream in which he was reacting to a Ray Rants video, more on that guy later, a viewer donated $2 asking why he had allegedly groomed someone. The stream quickly descended in a chaos. Soon after, allegations surfaced claiming the SMR had engaged in explicit and inappropriate conversations with a 16-year-old fan. Screenshots began circulating online, and their content was so graphic and unsettling that they spoke for themselves. Just look at them. Evidence stacked heavily against the SMR, making his guilt clear, and he vanished from the internet without a word. Just poof, gone. After even threatening to commit suicide because of it. I'll keep this brief because it deserves its own video, and I already made one over a year ago, which you can check out along with others breakdowns for more context, but the whole ordeal remains baffling, especially since I was deeply involved. Moving on, this predator was reacting to a video made by another predator. Yeah, Ray Rants. This entire situation blindsided me, but the irony is almost too much to ignore. Both of these people ended up sharing a live stream as if fate itself was mocking us. Just like the SMR, Ray Rants was exposed for sending inappropriate messages to a 15-year-old on Discord. On top of that, he wasn't operating in isolation. He had ties to Starjam Productions, now the name infamous for shitty behavior. If the SMR saga was messy, this is worse. But it's all the confusion that's the central fact. Ray Rance groomed someone. The accusations were random, they were brought forward by the mysterious Mr. Enter, who laid out exactly what was happening. But Ray didn't stop at grooming, he took it further, creating alt accounts, targeting and trying to erase a morally dubious person. He hacked into her personal information, exposed private calls without consent, and all of it was for one reason: to protect another creep. Initially, Ray attempted to release a response to defend himself. However, once Mr. Enter produced thorough analysis of the situation and later of the evidence, Ray effectively left the internet just like the SMR. The complexity of this case has left me struggling to make sense of it. I personally created a video covering the situation as best as I could, which later drew a reaction from Eglorious, who openly admitted his confusion about the events. Amidst all this chaos, some opportunists tried to escalate matters by hurling similar yet unfounded accusations at Super Marionette. He pushed back forcefully, dismantling the claims as outright fabrications. If you're going to level serious allegations, you need credible, verifiable evidence, not manufactured falsehoods. That's two down. Now, let's turn to the BH dude. While I haven't made a dedicated video on him like I did for the SMR and Ray Rants, his track record includes some questionable actions as well. WH dude is a longtime viewer of SML, but his behavior has sparked controversy. He has allegedly made homophobic and transphobic remarks. Accusations of misogyny have also surfaced, with critics pointing to a list stating criteria allegedly created for women. Beyond this, WH dude has shown attention for showing interest in Lolicon, in particular Lolly Art of Tourette, even maintaining a separate account dedicated to NSFW content. In addition, an interview on another channel claims that WH dude once asked a 13-year-old for dating advice. However, the most troubling detail isn't the request itself. It's the fact that WH2 was dating a 12-year-old when he was 19, and he was even masturbating. This gap is pretty big, as you can see. Unlike the SMR and Ray Rants, WH2 chose to respond to the allegations, but his first attempt was nothing but abysmal. Rather than offering evidence or a clear rebuttal, he simply repeated that none of it is true and bizarrely threw in SpongeBob references, as if turning serious accusations to a punchline would make them go away. The result was insulting to anyone expecting a sincere, accountable response, and the backlash was both inevitable and deserved. In response to the backlash, WH2 released a second video that was more serious in tone and included additional details. While this was certainly an improvement and made him appear somewhat more genuine, it still fell short of fully repairing his credibility. His framing of past actions as merely unintentionally dumb things that were meant to be inappropriate felt like an attempt to minimize the issue rather than confront it head on. In fact, it received mixed reviews. A few months later, WH2 announced he wasn't making SML-rated content, citing boredom and a desire to move on. The timing, of course, was impeccable. If one's goal is to look like they're leaving the party just as the police arrive. Since then, his channel's audience has thinned considerably, leaving Super Mario Nick as the last notable figure still active in the space, while the SMR, Ray Rants, and Beth Dominus have all exited stage left. Damn, I need water. Maybe a gallon. That was a lot to unpack, revisit, and mentally wrestle with. In truth, it's disheartening. I first watched the SMR for constructive feedback, but after he was exposed, I shifted to Ray Rants, only for controversies to find him as well. This constant cycle of drama, combined with what I perceive as a decline in quality, ultimately led me to lose genuine interest in SML. It's not that that I dislike the channel itself. Rather, I've grown wary of the negativity surrounding it. That's also why I chose not to make a video about WH2. I want to distance myself from all of it. I still occasionally check in to see if the quality has changed, for better or worse, but to me, it stayed mostly the same. Some videos are solid, others are bland, while a few are downright awful. Overall, both the channel and its surrounding community have declined, and the SML critic community has essentially collapsed. This video has been on my mind for a while because I wanted to revisit everything and share my honest thoughts on where things stand now. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, see you on the flip side.